really believe that community within the 2017, I would like to suggest is to obviously be very good discerning of the message. I would like to also read to them because I believe this also allows us to know to light into life, to enlighten but to be able to have that factor in us to understand it's from why this moment that reason for why it was so successful. Just for you. Okay, so when the people of Aryavart gave up the study of the Vedic lore, which alone enables one to discriminate between right and wrong. Ignorance spread over the land, and many sects sprang up. The Jain religion, whose teachings are opposed to science, took root in the country. We find no mention of the Jains in the Ramayana by Valmiki and the Mahabharata, while in the Jain scriptures we find life stories of Rama and Krishna, the heroes of the two poems in detail. This goes to show that this religion, Religio, came into existence at the period of the epics. For if the Jainis have been right in holding that their faith dates from remote antiquity, references to it would surely have been met with in the books like the Ramayana. It is clear, therefore, that the Jain religion was later than the period of these books. If it be argued that the authors of the Ramayana and the Mahabharata borrowed the stories from the Jain scriptures, the question may be asked as to why the sacred books of the Jainis are now referred to in the epics, while the latter are referred to in the holy books of the Jainis. Is it possible for the son to be present on the occasion of his father's birth? From this it may be safely inferred that the Jain and the Buddhist religions originated even after the Shivite and Vamamar sects had sprung into existence. Whatever has been written about the Jain religion in this chapter has been supported by quotations from the Jain scriptures. The chapter and verse have been cited in each case. The the Janis should not take offense at our comments, for in offering them we have been actuated solely by the desire of ascertaining what is true and what is false, and not by malice or the desire of injuring susceptibilities. The perusal of this chapter by Janis and Buddhists and other people will engender them in the spirit of inquiry into the truth and prompt them to lift up their pen in the defense and study the subject with this end in view. So long as discussions, whether oral or written, are not carried on and the parties in the debate do not maintain a spirit of love, it is impossible to arrive at any conclusion as to the correctness or otherwise of a belief. It is only when learned men do not act in the spirit that the ignorant people are steeped into utter darkness and suffer extreme misery. Hence, in order that the cause of truth may triumph and that of untruth may fail, it is the bounden duty of all men to conduct debates, whether written or oral, in a friendly spirit. Unless this course is followed, the human race can make no progress. It is believed that this chapter, which treats of the Buddhist and the Jain religions, will be of immense hope to the followers of other religions and will considerably add to the stock of knowledge, because the followers of the Jain religion do not let others read or copy out their books by dint of great efforts made by the author, and especially by Mr. Savakla Krishna Das, Secretary, Arya Samaj, Bombay. Some books have been obtained. Again, the study of the Jain religion has been facilitated by the publication of some books at the Benares Jain Prabhaka Press, and by that of the book called Prakaran Ratnakar at Bombay. What would you think of those learned men who would monopolize the right of studying their sacred books and deprive others of the same? From this it is clear that the authors of these books were in constant fear that if the followers of other religions read their books, they would refute the doctrines of the faith, and if their co-religionists read the scriptures of other religions, they would lose all faith in the Jain religion, the reason being that there was a lingering doubt in the minds of the Jain writers that their works were replete with incredible absurdities. This, however, is patent to all that there are many people in the world who cannot perceive their own faults, but they are ever ready to notice the shortcomings of others. This is hardly just, for one should find out and remove his own shortcomings before he proceeds to discover and remove the faults of others. An examination of the doctrines of the Jain and Buddhist religions is now submitted to the judgment of all impartial readers. This introduction, though short, will, we hope, satisfy the discerning reader. Okay, so yeah, let me read so this is an exposition and a refutation of the Charvaka, the Buddhist, and the Jain faiths, all of which are atheistic. So of course keep that in mind. Also keep in mind what I obviously keep in mind mentioned earlier about them and other advanced civilizations, the Egyptian John books, etc. Of course, this knowledge, this is for certain. Actually, I'll just continue. Alright. Next position and a refutation of the Charvaka, the Buddhist, and the Jain faiths, all of which are theistic. Once there lived, in parentheses, in India, close parentheses. So, let's just for the places, because this is obviously the Aryamantavya or the Chiranjiva Bar. Forget the names. I'm not even gonna name the place. So once there lived in this place, close parentheses, a man named Vrihaspati, who did not believe in the existence of God and the revealed character of the Veda, and in the efficacy of good works such as the yajnas. This is what he believed. Capital O. Alright, this is what he believed. Capital O. This is, of course, there's capital O, there's capital O. Capital O. Quote, no living creature, not even a human being, is immortal. All are subject to death. Let a man therefore live in ease and comfort so long as he draws breath. If it be objected that the practice of virtue entails suffering or deviation from the path of rectitude brings up misery in the next birth, in reply to this it may be urged that after death the body is burned to ashes, and therefore the man who enjoyed himself during his lifetime never returns to this world after his demise. And let a man and enjoy himself to his utmost capacity, deport himself in this world as expediency may direct, accumulate wealth and spend it in the gratification of his desires. All our interests are centered in this world, there is no hereafter. End quote. Four elements, earth, water, fire, and air, have entered into the composition of the human body. Consciousness results from the combination, even as inebriation results from the use of intoxicants. Similarly, the soul takes its birth simultaneously with the body and is dissolved with its dissolution. The reaping of the fruits of good or evil deeds is therefore an utter impossibility. Quote, the soul is called into existence as the result of the combination of the four elements and is annihilated synchronously with the dissolution of the body, for the existence of the soul after death is not demonstrable by direct cognition. End quote. We believe in direct cognition only because the inferential and cognate modes of reasoning have for their basis direct cognition. Direct cognition being therefore of primary importance, let all the rest sink into secondary importance and are therefore not acceptable. The enjoyment that results from embracing a beautiful woman is the greatest reward of human effort. Capital O. Your so-called elements are devoid of consciousness, therefore consciousness cannot result from their combination, just as in our day the human body is formed as the result of sexual congress between the husband and the wife. Likewise, it is impossible for the bodies of men and other living beings to come into shape without the author of the universe causing them to do so. Why, it is wrong to say that consciousness is called into existence or annihilated, even as inebriation is produced or removed, for it is a conscious being that is susceptible to the effects of inebriation, but not one devoid of consciousness. All things are destroyed, pass into a state of invisibility, but nothing is ever annihilated. Simply, it is not a rational belief that the soul becomes non-existent, because it is not an object of visual perception. The existence of the soul is made manifest only when it is embodied. When it leaves the body, the latter suffers dissolution and ceases to be the habitation of consciousness. It is even this which the Vrihadaranyaka Upanishad declares. Yajnavalkya says to his wife, O Maitreyi, or quote, O Maitreyi, what I say is not prompted by infatuation. The soul is immortal. Being united with it, the body becomes possessed of conscious effort. When it is separated from the body, consciousness is altogether dislodged from the latter. If the soul be not distinct from the body, how could it be that its union with the latter produces consciousness, while its separation from the same makes it devoid of consciousness? The eye sees all objects but cannot see itself. Even so the soul, which possesses the power of sensuous perception, cannot itself be an object of that mode of perception. Through the instrumentality of the eye, the soul sees all visible objects such as a picture or a piece of cloth, but it is conscious of the existence of the eye by inferential reason. The seer is always a seer, and can never be transformed into an object of visual perception. Just as the thing supported cannot exist without a supporter, an effect without a cause, constituent parts without a whole, an act without a doer, even so there can be no sensuous perception without the perceiver. If the ultimate aim of human effort be the pleasure resulting from intercourse with a pretty woman, it cannot be true because it is momentary. Anyway, momentary. And again, this act also produces some undesirable results, and it cannot be said that they are the aim of human effort. Otherwise, the carnal pleasure not being an unmixed pleasure, suffering will result. If it be said that the aim of human endeavor should be to obtain exemption from pain and an increase of pleasure, that aim will be frustrated. Hence, carnal pleasure cannot be the aim of human effort. Charvaka, they are foolish who renounce the carnal pleasure because it is mixed with pain. Just as a farmer thrashes out the corn, keeps the grain, and throws away the husk, likewise a wise man should enjoy pleasure and reject pain. For those people that renounce immediate pleasures of this world and desire to obtain immediate and uncertain joys of paradise, and with that end in view, perform homa, do righteous deeds, offer worship, devote themselves to acquisition of spiritual knowledge. All these practices have been enjoyed by the Vedas, which have been composed by rogues, are sunk in ignorance. It is foolish to hope for heavenly bliss when it is clear that there is no hereafter. Quote, Virihaspati, the founder of the Charvak faith, says that the performance of Homa, sacred recitations from the three Vedas, the use of 3 staves, the smearing of the body with ashes, have been turned into means of subsistence by people devoid of understanding and activity. In our opinion, physical pain such as caused by puncturing the body with a thorn constitutes hell. Salvation is nothing but attaining to the position of a king, who is in point of fact God, possessed of glory or the dissolution of the body. Capital A. It is sheer folly to believe that the aim of human endeavor is the gratification of bestial appetites, and that the realization of the heavenly state and the faithful discharge of duty consists in getting rid of pain which accompanies sensual gratification. Performance of yajna, like Homa, contributes to the purification of air, rain, and water, and thus promotes health and enables one to acquire virtue. Virtue, wealth, gratify natural desires, and obtain salvation. Whoever does not understand this and scoffs at God and the Veda and the teachings of the Vedic religion is a scoundrel. The author of this verse is right in denouncing the use of the 3 sacred staves and the smearing of the body with ashes. If the pain caused by pricking the thorn constitutes hell, why should not terrible maladies which bring on great suffering be designated by the same name? It is no doubt quite true that a king who is possessed of glory and is the protector of his subjects is deserving of homage, but none except a perfect dunce would accord divine honors to an unjust and wicked king. If salvation is only another name for the dissolution of the body, wherein then lies the difference between human beings and beasts like dogs and donkeys, except in the external appearance? Capital O, quote, there is no author of the universe, all things combined together by virtue of properties inherent in them, end quote. Quote, there is neither heaven nor hell, nor is there any entity like the soul to reap hereafter the fruits of the deeds done in this life. Nor does the performance of duties pertaining to one's class and order bear any fruit, end quote. 3. Quote, if the animal offered as sacrifice goes to heaven, why does the Yajmana, master of ceremonies, send his parent, etc., to heaven by killing them by way of sacrifice, end quote. 4. Quote, if oblations offered to the names of departed ancestors satisfy the latter, what need is there then for people going abroad to take them victuals, clothes, cash, etc., for maintaining themselves during the journey if a thing offered in the name of a departed ancestor reaches him in heaven, why cannot things offered in the name of a person gone abroad by his relations staying at home reach him in foreign lands? If it be impossible to convey anything to foreign lands in this way for the benefit of the traveler, how much more so would it be to convey things to heaven for the benefit of the departed ancestor? Question mark. 5. Quoted, for physical wants of an ancestor in heaven can be satisfied by offerings made in his name in this mortal world, why cannot the cravings of hunger felt by a person in the upper story of a house be satisfied if eatables are offered in his name by someone in the lower story, end quote. 6. Quote, therefore let a man pass his life in ease and comfort if he has done nothing different than can borrow money from others. No obligations exist to pay back debts hereafter for a particular individual. Parentheses, combination of the body and the soul, which parentheses are contracted. Death will never return to this world. Who will then demand payment, and who will have to pay? Question mark. 7. Quote, it is wrong to say that after death the soul leaves the body and is transported to the next world. For if it be otherwise, why does not the departed soul return home, impelled by love for its family? End quote. 8. Quote, hence all these practices have been invented by these for their own pecuniary benefit. The ceremony of offering rice balls on the 10th day after death, and other funeral ceremonies like this have been devised for the same selfish purposes. Quote, the offers of the Vedas were buffoons, scoundrels, and devils. Their words like horrifying are symbolic of the rascally teachings of pundits, end quote. 10. Quote, mark, what the rascals teach, who but a scoundrel can promulgate that the wife of the master of ceremonies should have intercourse with a horse, and obscene jokes should be cracked at the expense of the bride, quote, end quote. Quote, the portion of the Veda which inoculates indulgence in flesh diet has been composed by some fiend in the garb of a man. Capital A. 1. Dead and inert substances cannot combine together of their own potential, and according to some design, unless the conscious being, God, fashions and shapes them. If they could combine together by virtue of inherent properties, why does not another set of sun, the moon, the earth, and other planets spring into existence by themselves? The enjoyment of happiness constitutes heaven, while the suffering of extreme misery constitutes hell. If there be no soul, who would enjoy happiness or suffer misery, just as in this life the soul enjoys and suffers, likewise it will enjoy and suffer in the next birth. Will the cultivation of even such virtues as veracity in speech and benevolence by people belonging to a particular class and a particular order go unrewarded? 3, 4, and 5. The Veda and other Shastras do not all sanction animal sacrifice. Practice of offering obligations to the remains of departed ancestors is an invention of priests because it is oppressed to the Vedic and Shastra teachings and finds section only in the Puranas. Puranas like the Bhagavad. We have therefore nothing to say against the refutation of his doctrine. 6. Whatever exists cannot cease to exist. The soul is an entity. Therefore, it cannot become a non-entity. It is not the soul, but the body that is reduced to ashes. Parentheses, when it has been cremated, close parentheses. The soul, parentheses, after death, close parentheses, passes into another body. Whoever therefore enjoys himself by borrowing from others and does not pay back his debts is verily a sinner and will doubtless suffer terribly in the next birth. 7. After leaving the body, the soul is transported to another place and takes on another body. It forgets all about its previous birth and its family, hence it is impossible for it to return to its previous family. 8. Yes, it is true that the priests have devised these funeral rites from motives of pecuniary gain, but being opposed to the Vedas, they are condemnable. 9. In cannot therefore be gained. It cannot therefore be gainsaid that if the Charvaks had read the Vedas or heard them read, they would never have reviled them by saying that they had been composed by buffoons, scoundrels, and devils. It is no doubt true that commentators like Mahidhar were the real buffoons, scoundrels, and devils. It is on account of their rascality that such teachings have been fathered upon the Vedas. What a pity that Charvakas and Abhanaks, the Buddhists and the Jains, never cared to study the four Vedas in original with the learned man. This was the reason why their intellectual vision was blurred and distorted, and they began to revile the Vedas in a foolish and nonsensical fashion. They read only the unauthoritative, absolutely wrong, and dirty commentaries by wicked Vamamargis turned against the Veda and fell deep down into the bottomless pit of ignorance. 10. No sane man would believe that any people except the Vamamargis are capable of sanctioning such principles as the cohabitation of the wife of the master of ceremonies with the horse and poking obscene fun at his daughter. Who but these vile reprobats, i.e. Vamamargis, could have thought out such a filthy, incorrect exposition quite at variance with the Vedic text? It is much to be deplored that the Charvakas took to a thoughtless vilification of the Vedas. They ought to have made some use at least of their sense, but they were greatly to be pitied because they did not possess enough knowledge to enable them to sift truth from falsehood, to champion this cause of truth and denounce error. 11. Flesh eating is not at all enjoyed by the Veda. It is only the Vamamargi commentators who have perverted the Vedic text to shape this meaning. They verily deserve to be called demons in human shape. The Vamamargi commentators and those who have thoughtlessly reviled the Vedas without having properly studied them or picked up any reliable information about them will doubtless suffer for having committed this sin. To tell the truth, all those who have opposed the Vedas in the past do so now, while will do the same in the future, being steeped in dense ignorance, can never suffer too much pain and misery. It is therefore the duty of all men to mold their conduct according to the teachings of the Vedas. The Vamamargi the Vamamargites, in order to gain their selfish end, which was to be free to resort to wicked practices such as the use of flesh and spirituous liquors and adultery with impunity, invented their creed, which finds no sanction in the Shastras, in the name of the Vedas, and thus brought them into disrepute. The Charavak, the Buddhists and the Jains began to revile the Vedas when they saw that the professed believers in these scriptures followed such wicked modes of conduct. They founded a new religion which is atheistic and anti-Vedic. Had the Charvakas, etc., read the originals, they would never have been misled by false commentaries into forsaking the Vedic religion. They are very much to be pitied. When ruin is at hand, understanding is warped and perverted. We shall now point out the doctrinal differences between the Charvaka and allied faiths. They are alike in most respects. The Charvakas believe that the soul comes into being simultaneously with the body and ceases to exist as soon as the body is dissolved. They do not believe in metempsychosis nor in a future life. They reject all kinds of evidence except that of direct cognition. The etymological meaning of the word Charvaka is a person who is clever in speech and is extremely fond of wrangling. On the other hand, the Buddhists and the Jains believe in the four kinds of evidence such as direct cognition, the immortality of the soul, metempsychosis, the future life, and emancipation. These are the main differences between the Charvakas on one hand and the Buddhists and the Jain on the other. The points of agreement are following: atheism, 2. Reviling God and His Word, the Veda, 3. Malicious antagonism against other religions, 4. Belief in the efficacy of 6 acts to be described later on, 5. Disbelief in the first cause. We have briefly described the doctrines of the Charvakas. Now we shall briefly describe Buddhism. The Buddhists believe that there is an inseparable relation between cause and effect. The cause invariably suggests the effect and the effect of the cause. In this mental process, inference follows direct cognition. Without the help of the inferential mode of reasoning, the affairs of the world cannot be satisfactorily carried on. The Buddhism therefore attaches special importance to inference and therefore constitutes a belief different from that of the Charvakas. The following are the different forms of Buddhism: Madhyamika, Yogacara, Sutrantika, Vaibhashtika. Etymologically, the word Buddhist, means one who acts in accordance with the dictates of reasoning, that is, one who accepts reasoning as the supreme and final authority. Madhyamika, Madhyamika. It teaches that all is not, all things originally proceeded from naught will ultimately resolve into naught. Whatever we perceive continues to exist only as long as our perceptive faculties are at work. When they cease to act, the objects of perception may cease to act. For example, no picture was in existence before it was made. It ceases to exist after it is broken. It seems to exist when it is an object of perception on our consciousness. Is concentrated on other objects, it passes out of reach. In therefore ceases to exist. Hence, not is the sole identity. Yogacara teaches that nothing exists outside human consciousness. All objects seem to exist in the mind. For example, the knowledge of the existence of the picture resides in the soul. Consciousness. That is why a man calls a particular object by the name of picture. If this delusion had not previously existed in consciousness, how would he have called it? 3. Sutrantika teaches that the existence of objects of the universe is merely inferred. There is nothing that can be wholly known by direct cognition. It only affords the data, but complete perception is arrived at by means of inference only. Vaibhashika teaches that when a thing is known by direct cognition, no mental images of the outside objects are formed in consciousness. For example, when one says, "Here is a blue picture," he means that the blue substance in the form of the picture appears to exist outside his consciousness. Although the founder of the Buddhistic faith was one, Buddha, yet on account of intellectual differences among his disciples, it came to have 4 forms. Take an example. When the shades of the evening close in, a wake meets his inamorata, while a good and learned man busies himself with the performance of righteous acts such as truthfulness. Thus, at one and the same time, 2 different persons act differently, each acting according to his understanding. Of the 4 forms, Madhyamika teaches that all perception is of a transient nature, each individual state of consciousness being of momentary duration. The perception of a thing at one moment differs from what it was a moment before. All knowledge is therefore transient. The Yogacara form of Buddhism teaches that all enjoyment results in pain because gratification of desire does not bring on contentment. When one desire is satisfied, a new one takes its place, and thus peace to mind is never secured. The Sutrantika form of Buddhism teaches that all things are known by their lakshanas. One, just as the cow is known by its distinctive lakshana, and the horse by its own distinctive lakshana. Lakshanas are always reside in objects of which they are the attributes. The Vaibhashika form teaches that naught is the sole entity. In this matter, there is an agreement between Madhyamikas and Vaibhashika forms. Hence, there are many antagonistic forms of belief among the Buddhists. The chief of them are these 4. Capital A. If all be naught, the knower of naught cannot be naught. For it he also be naught, he cannot, being himself not, know not. It is therefore clear that, even from the Buddhist point of view, there must be 2 entities, the knower who perceives the naught, and the thing known, the naught. As regards the Yogacara form of belief according to which nothing exists outside consciousness, it may be said that even big objects like a mountain must be believed to exist in this seat of consciousness. But this is absurd because it is incapable of holding a mountain. The mountain therefore exists outside consciousness, and a perception of this object is formed in consciousness, the soul. The Sutrantika form teaches that nothing is known by direct cognition. All knowledge is gained by inference. We say in reply that, if it be so, the declaration of belief and the existence of a person making it must be held to the result of inference. This being the case, it would not be logically right to say this is a picture. It rather ought to be said that this is part of the picture, that the name picture cannot be applied to a part of it. It is applicable to all the constituent parts of the picture taken as one object. This is a picture is a proposition which can only be made by one who has gained this knowledge by direct cognition and not by inference, because the whole pervades its constituent parts, and therefore as soon as the whole is perceived by direct cognition, all its constituent parts may be said to have individually perceived in the same manner. In other words, the picture is perceived as composed of constituent parts. The Vibhashikites are not right in holding that when a thing is known by direct cognition, no mental images of the outside objects are formed in consciousness, for direct cognition is impossible unless there be the perception of an object and a knower. Although the object of perception is outside consciousness, yet perception is impossible unless a mental image of the outside objects is formed in consciousness. We now proceed to examine other doctrines of the aforesaid four schools of Buddhism. 1. If all perception be of a transient character, there should be no recollection of past events. But the fact is that we do recollect what we have seen or heard in the past, hence this belief in the momentary character of perception is erroneous. 2. It is not right to say that in this world there is nothing but sorrow and misery, and there is absolutely no happiness, for sorrow cannot be conceived but in relation to happiness, even as one can conceive the night only in relation to the day, and vice versa. 3. It is wrong to believe that lakshana always resides in the object, of which it is a lakshana. Sometimes it does, and at others it does not. Take an example. Light is always perceived by the eye, and therefore the latter is the lakshana of the former, while the light is the lakshya, i.e. that which is known by means of lakshya. But the eye, the lakshana, is distinct from light, the lakshya. This proposition can also be demonstrated by taking the relation between the color of the picture and the eye as an illustration. Now we offer an illustration to show that a lakshana may also reside in the lakshyas. The power of exciting olfactory pulses is a lakshyana of prithvi. It resides in prithvi and can never be separated from it. It is therefore clear that lakshanas do not reside in their lakshyas. The belief about the not being the soul identity has already been examined. The Jainis believe in the same Tirathankaras, perfect beings or incarnations, as the Buddhists. Both these religions are therefore identical. They hold that the four kinds of beliefs stated above constitute means which, toward the attainment of freedom from all worldly desires, leads to nirvana, or extinction of the soul. This is their salvation. They teach their pupils the path of Yogacara, and also that whatever falls from the lips of one's preceptor is worthy of belief, and that the beginninglessness intellect, being clouded by passions and desires, appears to assume different forms. The 5 mundane forms of consciousness: 1. Perception of objects, such as color by the senses, such as eyes. Constitutes rupa skanda, 2. Knowledge of the activity of the thinking faculty constitutes vijnana skanda. 3. Sensations of pleasure or pain, the result of rupa skanda and vijnana skanda, constitute Vedana Skanda. For the belief in relation of the words such as cow with the objects signified by them constitutes Sanjna Skanda. 5 different kinds of Kaosha affliction, such as inordinate love and hatred, or Apakusha, 9 kinds of affliction, such as hunger and thirst, ardent passion, negligence, vanity, virtuous and sinful acts. Result of Vedanta Skanda constitutes Samskara, Skat. The Buddhists hold that one should realize that the whole world is full of sorrow and pain. It is a veil of tears. With this belief, one should exert himself so as to be freed from the troubles of his world. This constitutes the highest form of salvation according to Yogacara Vakas. The Buddhists also believe in the inferential mode of reasoning and deny the existence of the soul. One of their scriptures says, "It is the duty of the Buddhist to believe in one who understands all about the lords of the worlds, otherwise known as Tirthankaras, such as Buddha, who is possessed of perfect knowledge and has renounced the world and attained the blessed state of beatitude in his life, who preaches all things separately and has been described minutely and in different ways." Quote, "One should also believe in the teachings with regard to naught of different gurus, preceptors, which have a clear and deep significance and have briefly been described before openly or covertly." Quote, "The Dvajadhyatana Puja, or the worship of 12 places alone, can lead to salvation. While the Buddhists therefore collect all kinds of material for offering this kind of worship and build 12 places and worship them in the proper manner, why should he worship anything else?" Quote, "The Buddhist Dvajayatana Puja consists in showing respect to the 5 organs of sensation, such as ears, eyes, nose, mouth, and the organ of touch, 5 organs of action, such as those of speech, locomotions, excretion, and reproduction, the principle of attention, and the principle of discernment, by giving them unlimited license. This is the Buddhistic faith." End quote. Capital A. Had there been nothing in this world but pain and sorrow, no living soul would have had an inclination for anything in this world. But it is our daily experience that the souls do desire for the objects of this world. Hence it cannot be true that in the whole universe there is nothing but pain and sorrow. Both happiness and misery are to be found in this world. If the Buddhists really believe in the above doctrine, why do they attend to the health of their bodies, and for this purpose take food and drink and follow the laws of health, and in case of sickness take medicine, etc.? Why do they believe that these things are conducive to one's happiness? If they answer that they certainly do these things, but at the same time believe that they lead to misery and pain, it can never be true, because the soul takes to what is conducive to its happiness and shuns what entails misery and suffering. Practice of virtue, acquisition of knowledge and wisdom, association with the good, and the like undoubtedly are conducive to man's happiness. No wise man can never assert that these result in pain and sorrow. It is Buddhists alone who hold such a belief. As regards the five skandhas given above, they are not exhaustive, since if one were to classify skandhas like that, one does not know where he would end. They believe that the Tirthankaras were the teachers and the lords of the world, while they refuse to believe in the eternal Supreme Spirit, who is the Lord of Lords. Now we should like to know who was the teacher of those Tirthankaras. If they answer that they evolved knowledge out of their own minds, it cannot be right, because no effect can come into existence without a cause. Besides, if what they assert be true, why don't the Buddhists in our day become learned without studying the others or hearing what they teach and associating with the learned men? Such being the case, their assertion, which is altogether groundless and opposed to reason, is as valueless as the mutterings of a patient suffering from delirium due to high fever. If negation of all that exists be the belief of the Buddhist, it can never be valid, since that which exists can never cease to exist, though it can be converted into its subtle, casual form, the elementary matter from which the whole universe has proceeded. Hence this statement of the Buddhists is also erroneous. If they believe that it is only through the acquisition of wealth and other worldly possessions that the above mentioned Dvainashayatana Puja, worship of the 12 graces, which leads to salvation, can be offered, why don't they also worship the 10 Paranas, nirvaric forces and the soul, which is the 11th question mark. If the worship of the senses and the mind, becoming slave to them, is held to be the means of attaining salvation, what difference is there then between the Buddhists and the sensualists? When the Buddhists did not escape being slaves to the senses, how could they ever attain salvation? People who are slaves to their senses can never have an idea of what salvation really is. What a wonderful progress have they, the Buddhists, made in ignorance? They have really no equal in this respect. It is certain that this is the result of their opposing the Veda and God. First, they imagined that in the whole world there was nothing but sorrow and suffering, and then they formulated this doctrine of Dvainashayatana Puja, the worship of the 12 graces. Now does this, I was just going to say Dvainashayatana. Now does this Dvainashayatana consist in worshipping objects which are outside the world? If this mode of worship could lead to salvation, we should think of a man with closed eyes could as well find diamonds. These people who come to believe in such stupid things by rejecting the Veda and God, even now if they seek happiness, they should lean on the Veda and God and thereby realize the true aim of human life. The book called Vivekavilasa thus describes the Buddha religion. 1, quote, there are four first principles recognized as articles of faith by the Buddhists. A. Sagatadeva, otherwise known as Buddha, is the Lord, worthy of homage. B. The universe is transient in nature. C. All men and women should endeavor to be good. D. All should study the science of Latwas or true principles. 2, quote, let a man first understand that this world is a vale of tears. It is then that he can make any progress. Here follow the successive steps of his progress. End quote. 3, quote, there is nothing but sorrow and suffering in this world. Let a man realize that there are 5 skandhas, or mundane forms of consciousness, which are as follow. Rupa skandha, Vijnana skandha, Vedana skandha, Sanskara skandha. The 5 organs of sense and their 5 objects, principle of attention, principle of discernment, are the 12 ayatanas, seats of Dharma, righteousness. 5. The springing up of passions such as love and hatred in the heart of a man is called samudaya. The soul and its nature and attributes constitute akya, which again gives rise to samudaya. 6. All impressions are of a transient nature. Cessation of desires is the path of the Buddhist, and the resolution of the soul into nothing constitutes their salvation. End quote. 7. The Buddhists believe only in two kinds of evidence: direct cognition and inference. Buddhism is divided into 4 forms, which I have already mentioned. 8. The Bhashika holds that all objects whose knowledge exists in our consciousness have objective existence because a perfect man, Buddhist, i.e. Buddhist, cannot believe in the existence of what is present in his consciousness, while Sotrentika holds that all objects have only a subjective existence. They do not exist in the outside world. Excuse me. Holds that all objects have only a subjective existence. They do not exist in the outside world. 9. Yogacara believes that the reasoning faculty has a form, while Madhyamika believes in the existence of the ideas of objects in consciousness, but does not believe that the objects exist. Parentheses, close parentheses, in the outside world. 10. Quote, all the 4 kinds of Buddha believe that salvation consists in the cessation of love and the like passions in human consciousness. 11. To use deer skin as the seat and water gourd for carrying water, shave the head, beard, and mustache, wear garments made of bark, eat before 9 a.m., avoid seclusion, and wear red-colored clothes constitutes the fashion of the Buddhist mendicants. Capital A. If Sugata-diva, otherwise called Brahma, alone is the diva of, or Lord of Buddhists. Open and close parentheses, which like to know who is his teacher. Question mark. If the world is transient in nature, one on seeing an object again after a long time should not be able to recollect that it is the same as he had seen before. Nor should that object have been there. No one hence would have been able to remember it. If the Buddhists really believed in the doctrine that the world is transient, their salvation would be of momentary duration. 8. If all objects that are perceived be possessed of consciousness, even inert substances should possess consciousness and conscious exertion. Now how could that which is perceptible to the senses be nothing? 9. If the intellect possesses a form, it should be visible. If the outside world exists only in our consciousness and has no objective reality, it can never be true, since there can be no perception without the existence of objects whose precepts are formed in our consciousness. 10. If the cessation of passions and desires constitutes salvation, sashuti, parentheses, close parentheses, should also be regarded as salvation, but such a thing being opposed to the dictates of knowledge is not worthy of acceptance. We have very briefly discussed some of the doctrinal points and beliefs of Buddhists all enlightenment. Now for men, after going through this description of their beliefs, will know how much learning the writers of the Buddhist scriptures possess and what kind of religion Buddhism is. The Jains also share these beliefs. I'm not going to go into, in this episode, discussing the Jain religion, but I shall definitely emphasize the matters of this tradition. So, the very importance of what I wanted to kind of put together for this is some key things that one thing that's very interesting is that I believe Alex Haley was talking to Dave Jobs, or he was talking to, or maybe it wasn't Alex Haley. It was an extraterrestrial civilization. You know, we kind of guess it. For example, in this scenario, exploring airlines, how our process of growing up, which requires money, and they just couldn't get. Like, for example, these extraterrestrial citizens, or well, anyway, so the point is, these extraterrestrials couldn't understand why we had to pay for something on the planet that we were born on. Like, break down even further, we're just born on the planet and we have to pay money on this planet. So, I already discussed ways and technologies and systems and spiritual elements of the facts that we don't need, ultimately we don't have to deal with that scarcity or survival scenario. What comes with that, as I also mentioned before, is the absolute higher level of standard of living that we go through, especially in this enlightenment time. The hydroponic gardens, the Telosian hydroponic gardens, and the gardens in the fruit that was described from Albert Bird and those who and Olaf Jensen and the travelers that have gone to different parts of Agartha, who have gone to Shambhala, who have gone to those cities and had their fruit and vegetables and their foods, and there are massive 4-foot long grape clusters, 5-foot long grape clusters, apples the size of human heads. All their fruit is large and healthy and has life force, and they communicate with the plants telepathically and request to have their food before they get their fruit and vegetables. And they share the land with nature. Very respectful. They rarely walk on the mountain, they never walk on it. They have hovercraft fetches, or EMVs of the sort, that hover a few inches above the ground, just so that they don't have to tread on nature, because it's their energy. Same thing with all the invisible plants and animals and telepathically. And I'm certain. Describe the job one of the biospheres. There's many biospheres. One of the biospheres, in the description, is the size of Pluto, about approximately the size of Pluto, and it can contain millions and millions of people. And it's huge, and it has everything. Alex Haley gives a very great description of it. Just a brief description is 2 million people can be held at full capacity, or at least in this biosphere that we described. 12 executive officers, 15,000 crew members, 30,000 civilians, including families, 12 ambassadors, 12 ambassador agents, and most of them members. I'm pretty sure the really exciting thing is the holographic central regulation of sports. Holograph signals as well. 10 by 10 rooms, and Alex Fuller explains it very well. It's very, very exciting, very, very thrilling. The parks that are inside these massive biospheres are huge, and Alex Fuller describes it would take 25 years to see everything that's on this biosphere. It's just that big. It's just so many things to do. So many things to do. So that is, just kind of an mind-opening way to experience life, to know about what's going on with ultimately our brothers and sisters, and galactic cousins and galactic family. So, and that's why it's so important, of course, obviously. Who knows if obviously visit their galactic family in their biosphere, have fun on the holodeck, and try a hydroponic tomato, or enjoy incredibly large, healthy foods containing life force, and never have to worry about any type of illness, disease, cancer, degenerative disease, and enjoy physical perfection like those who have already mastered, and whose cultures and sciences are thousands of years ahead of ours, just as described by the master in the domain of Ariana. That's very, very, very wonderful truth, facts of what's actually here on Earth. At least, order in which is a deck, and to the living stone, to nature level intelligence, to the animals and the trees, Garfield, and the hollow earth crystal caverns, and the singing water that has consciousness in its own. There's so it's really easy to do this, which I pretty much do. This needs to be done. The deep pollution with advanced technology. There's protein. That's protein. The iceberg waters. We can use that. I've already mentioned this one. Aqueducts near the ice. Aqueduct, perhaps even a lake will be Atlantic Ocean and stream going to the for example, Africa, South America, North America. Same thing with Australia, Pacific Ocean, and same thing with Indian Ocean. You have three. Or you could just, build gardens, build islands. Then we're going to get rid of every single WMDs. Good. Very simple. So, the other grand thing is, the truth is, like, the younger generation, the future generation, that's obviously just because the future generation wants to go to space, wants to know about their cosmic family, wants to be involved in space-like things, in advanced technology, and knowing and being a part of really what is all that out there. It's their birthright to be involved in zero-point energy and anti-gravity and spacecraft. It's going to space and going to other planets. Just as easy as it is to drive a car and take a vacation. That's their birthright. That's what it's always meant to be, and that's how it should be. Knowing more diverse types of individuals, just like it was not a huge transition, but it was a transition for colors. Now, this next transition is we're going to be working with insectoids and mammaloids and reptoids and amphibonoids. That's just going to be a diverse part of life. It's just going to be in school, the supermarket, on the street. Babysitting, that is the norm, especially in a galactic society. And, they're already getting along incredibly well, peacefully cohabitating together, so obviously it would be fair. And, that's the other thing. The Altamarians are already here. There's 3 million of them who are staying in. Also, there's coordinates of bases in Nevada, Star Nations. Dr. Bowman provides those. I definitely suggest looking out for that. Okay, 3 million, approximately 3 Altamarians, because they're stars, their solar system, so it's just like here, so they're staying here, and that's fine. And it's just things like that. That's kind of the that's just the right thing to do. I mean, it's just like if someone asks for, I don't know, we've already shared a little bit about so but yeah, it's displayed on its very good use. It's basically just like May 2016. This was December 2016. 3 million staying. Very orbiting nearby star V2393 Ophiuchus. And years ago, 12 buried Altamarians divided to scientists volunteers came through. And they've been working quietly on remediation of the human damage to environmental systems. And we're easily able to accommodate human refugees, and 8 large vessels, space vessels, landed in U.S. Southwest between Rockland Reef National Park and Grand Canyon National Recreation Area on the developed Federal Bureau of Land Management. Lands at 5,000 feet altitude southeast of Hanksville, Utah. Established a subterranean settlement site. Their settlement is relatively compact, 1.5 miles by 1.5 miles, extends 2,000 feet into the ground. The Altamarian refugees have quickly constituted a self-sufficient settlement requiring little assistance and have prepared to repay its kindness. I've requested also I request that you grant my permission and protection for this settlement site as a UNESCO World Heritage Site, and the UN has not responded. It is my plan to travel to the Ultimarian settlement site soon, and discuss their role in aiding Earth's future. As further developments occur, I will keep you posted. Richard Boylan, PhD, Counselor of and for Earth. So just have a little bit of insight right there. So now, the Ultimarians said they were able to, or that they're prepared to repay Earth's kindness. So if we do favors like this, let's just think about this. If we do favors like this to other beings throughout the solar system, free bill here. I mean, just thinking about it. And they are prepared to repay us for its kindness. The type of rejuvenation that we can provide for planet Earth can be accelerated incredibly quickly without using any of our resources at all. But as a matter of fact, just due to our very spiritual enhancement and enlightenment of wanting to be peaceful, moral, and good, just that example is enough to have entire species of beings from other planets want to repay Earth just based off of their kindness. Now that is a massive win-win. Obviously, that's a massive win-win. So that's how we really start thinking out of the box. That's how we can really start getting solutions, and that's the type of action and that's the type of result I expect from an ambassador from and of course, from the council of. So this is happening. It's going on. It's good news. And so, of course, many other great things are happening. There's going to be more and more common knowledge. I mean, it's literally, I can guarantee it's not that far in the future at all. We're going to be sharing classroom droplets and students and Arterians, etc. So, not that I'm putting them in boxes and names and loosely things, but it's just this overall formation of what we call this name, the English language of life and society. Like I said yesterday, it's a beautiful part of an evolution or evolution or just revelation of the divine plan of God's divine plan. Working hands. Adam is watching us, so is my ghost. I'm gonna probably just read it. A little bit of inner earth, center of earth. Because we deserve it. So, the ghost is the head librarian of the library. Of course, every ghost is inside the center. Of rooms and vaults for these crystal slides, and you can sit in a chair and watch this experience and feel as if you're actually there. Beings all over the world go to and from, not all over the world, all over the universe, go to tuned for the library all the time. And yeah. So